The Successive Approximation Model was created by Dr. Michael Allen, the CEO and founder of Allen Interactions, in response to limitations of the ADDIE model for instructional design. In his white paper, Leaving ADDIE for SAM, Dr. Allen explains his rationale for creating a new model for instructional design. The predominant model, ADDIE, was originally created for the military and followed a sequential or waterfall approach where each step needed to be completed before the next began. In Dr. Allen's experience, this sequential process led to miscommunications and frustrations downstream when changes to the instruction were needed mid-project. So what's different about SAM? The SAM model seeks to minimize miscommunication by involving stakeholders early and often. Rather than completing an extensive front-end analysis, instructional designers engage in ongoing analysis as they rapid prototype and gather feedback on functional designs. That sounds great, but how does it actually work in practice? The model is broken down into 3 phases: preparation, iterative design, and iterative development. We'll look at each one individually. In the preparation phase, the instructional designer gathers background information and assembles a savvy start team of key stakeholders. When gathering information about learners, designers should ask, who are the learners and what needs to change about their performance? What can they do now? Are we sure they can't already do what we want? And where do learners go for help? When gathering information about resources, designers should ask, what forms of delivery are available to us? What is the budget and schedule for project completion? And what resources are available, human and otherwise? And finally, when gathering information about organizational needs, designers should ask, what is unsatisfactory about current instructional programs, if any exist? How will we know whether the new program is successful? And who is the key decision maker and who will approve deliverables? Dr. Allen advocates for speed over accuracy when gathering background information. SAM is designed to be a fast process where any inaccuracies are corrected throughout the design process through the evaluation of prototypes. So who will be evaluating the initial ideas and prototypes? The Savvy Start team. In addition to the instructional designer, this team includes the person in charge of the project's budget, the person who will be evaluating the project and the performance of the learners, prospective and recent learners, and subject matter experts. By engaging with the Savvy Start team early, the designer begins to understand what's really important to the client. The iterative design phase kicks off with a brainstorming meeting where the Savvy Start team reviews the collected background information and generates initial design ideas. Dr. Allen recommends repeating this process for a total of 3 iterations, which usually takes the course of 1 to 2 days. Let's look at each step in more detail. In SAM, functional prototypes take the place of detailed documentation and are used to flesh out information early on before differences in expectations and misunderstandings can occur. These prototypes are expected to be very basic and should only meet the level required to test and communicate ideas. When reviewing prototypes, instead of asking, what should we do? The Savvy Start team should ask the narrow specific question, why shouldn't we do this? This will help the group stay focused on what's good and bad about the prototype, rather than what's good and bad about all the alternatives anyone can think of. Dr. Allen recommends setting aside the first prototype and creating a completely new design for the second iteration. This often leads to superior design, and elements from both the first and second iteration can be included in the final prototype. During the development phase, the final prototype from the design phase is developed, implemented, and evaluated. Once again, this process is iterative. Iteration is key to the SAM process, and Dr. Allen notes that while no project is ever perfect, through repeated work, projects can evolve and become closer to perfection. The first iteration begins with the design proof, which is meant to test and prove viability of the project. It gives the design team and stakeholders a chance to see how the course will function as a whole and to address any problems they notice. In the next iteration, Alpha, the team looks for graphical errors, sequencing problems, missing content, lack of clarity, and functional problems. By the beta iteration, only a few errors should be discovered, and the gold release is the final phase of development. This was just a brief overview, so if you'd like to learn more about SAM, Dr. Allen's white paper is freely available on the Allen Interactions website. So, what do you think of SAM? Will you use it in the future? Here are some discussion questions to consider as we engage in conversation in our Canvas course. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my presentation.